the cloud. Okay, so here we are on a Friday. I'm doing a little bit right here. It's just a little bit. I think this first thing that Robert Frazier, my very first Aikido class. In other words, sometime in the fall, October of 1969. And nobody knew what to expect, Aikido. At that time, Black Belt magazine was profiling karate and judo and occasionally kung fu, but Aikido was Aikido, right? So one of the things that he said was something like, okay, now we're going to get into what's called ki, Aikido, the way of harmony with ki. Ki was this word somehow to do martial arts. It was like energy or something, right? Mysterious. And so he just had us put our hands together, like this, not this way, but this way. And just imagine, feel if it was a current, a flow. And I was in that class, and all of a sudden, I began to feel like this sort of, one of a better term, there was kind of this magnetism. In other words, it kind of went in, it just got denser. And this way, you still feel the attraction, no matter how. But after a while, it would dissipate, but just go this way. And so that was the first thing he taught. Didn't teach following, didn't teach flowing, just. It's pretty basic practice. Okay. And I think it was spring of 1970, so I had to pose a life. It was something on campus, or maybe it was just Merrill College, it was the same things, where it was called the Spring Fair, where there was outdoors activities, and it was so we did an Aikido kind of demo on the lawn, and we got everybody in the lawn. Each of the campuses had kind of like a quad area, and form a big circle. Stood side by side, right hand palm down, left palm up. And therefore, the person to your right had their palm up, and the person to your left had palm down. And so we just sort of felt the ki going all through that big circle, over 100 people. And Robert Frazier said something to me that, wow, we got a whole lot full of people to feel ki. So those are just basic energy flow practices. Cliff, anything basic? I'm sure you've done this at some point. Anything you want to add to this basic practice?
Not really. I've done both of those exercises, the hand exercise and the in a circle, one hand up, one hand down. I've done both of those at different times, and you can definitely feel it. My Tai Chi Sifu also in Chicago also did, that the first one, as well as Aikido instructors.
Well, a lot of Tai Chi, for example, you do have post stance, post stance. In other words, you do a motionless thing. Now you can be standing here just complaining that your legs hurt, or there's another level of something going on. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is something now. The other thing is a lot of times that the actual practice is centered around movement technique, but in the background, there's always kind of what we call this flow key dimension going. Now, let me back just a little bit. I'm using this just to sit down. Okay. So just going back to this. Now the question is, okay, I'm looking out there trying to figure it out. It's like, there's something on my TV screen that I'm kind of paying attention to. Feeling a little bit as I'm a part of that screen, I'm in that screen. So it's more of what the docents that calls it feel experience. But there's going to be some of, okay, I'm out there studying it from out here. But for example, right here, we feel it between the hands. And a little bit more advanced. What you feel between the hands is going on around you. It's an energy field. So in addition to, okay, I'm feeling my own ki flowing right to left, left to right. I'm in a field of ki that also, to some degree, starts to feel itself, just like I feel between the right, the left, the left, the right. Just a little bit more advanced. And it's very easy right now, for example, you go, oh, yeah, I feel that. Now, start to look out there. What am I supposed to feel? It just comes easy. There's that dialogue, that kind of count right about there, the cube sense. What does it feel like? It feels kind of like what it feels like. But the feeling, for example, the ability to sort of sense, feel your own energy flowing right to left, left to right. Sort of expand it out. And you start to there's actually kind of a feel. It's just like it vibes right to left, left to right. It's vibe there. If I look for it out there, I know about it. I just sort of relax and be very easy. So what's going on? There's the individual energy in your own system, your own ki. There's also ki. This is a small piece of what you might call ki. Cliff, anything you might add to that? How is the outer ki field for you?
Well, I definitely feel, energized in a mellow way, in a kind of relaxed way. My arms don't get tired, so that's one thing, right? You would expect them to get tired.
Well, in Tai Chi, if you're in this post stance, you're not supposed to be in it and then guts it out and sit here for 15 minutes. There's kind of you shift to a different level of experience. Now, what's interesting for me is when I start to acknowledge the outer field, the inner field starts to kind of, whoa, amp up. all of a sudden, what's going between my right and my left to my right is much more vital. So, okay, here I am feeling a trickle effect of my own energy. And then all of a sudden, you say, oh yeah, there's a field around me. And oh my gosh, the actual left to right, right to left really picks up when I start to feel that. Okay, so that's something I noticed. Anything on your part?
Yeah, I guess I do feel, a movement, even though I'm not moving really perceptively.
Okay, yeah. Okay. One thing that I remember back to those old workshops that Robert Frazier and Robert Nadeau used to do. They basically called it the 60s term, they turned off. They coined off it, then popular culture. They called them key ends. Because it was really workshops about getting you more attuned with key. Okay. Wow. And so all of a sudden, let's say that there's your own system. You start to feel the energy in your own system. And then there's a larger field. Now, one of the things that the docents they used to use, believe it or not, because it was going on there, was, people would have trouble with it, right? And he'd say, play Star Trek. Here I am, physical body. All of a sudden, I step into one of those transformers. My body starts to be coded into an energy blueprint, which then can be broadcast somewhere else, received, and then. So for that moment that I'm in that transport in my physical body, it's going into a larger space, but retaining its own energy, signature, being beamed, then all of a sudden. So for that moment, you get the feeling that all of a sudden, imagine it would probably, if you were primitive, and all of a sudden they feed you on board the Enterprise, and you're going, what was that? So that feeling right there, that is, especially the docents that use this, they Star Trek. And all of a sudden, the energy in your, so it gets me in touch with the energy in my own system. Okay, I'm here, I'm saying physical body. Beaming down, or conversely, I'm about to be attacked, and Scotty, beam me up. And so my body starts kind of becoming more good on the Enterprise. Okay, so anyway, anything about that? There's practices for kind of getting into, let's say, you have your own energy, your own key. And there's, some level of it, all times, in fact, key, a space of key. Any comments on that?
It just that it requires a little bit more attention to be relaxed in that position than it does in the first one.
Well, one of the things that is kind of interesting about it is, I'm kind of doing this individual practice, feeling my own energy. Then all of a sudden, you start to kind of work not just the key space, the key field, and all of a sudden, like the actual, it's almost like, okay, I'm a microwave, right? And all of a sudden, that larger field, and then all of a sudden, the space between my hands It's like all of a sudden somebody turned the microwave on. That's kind of my own particular experience of it. I'm not saying, okay, this is what I should feel. It's like, oh, gosh. So, yeah. So, any descriptions of that larger, we say, key space or key field?
Not at this time. I'll think about it.
Okay, yeah. Well, the major thing is, it's tricky. I'm going to think about it. That's good. What do I feel? For example, I'm going to do this one. My own hand seems to glide out, feels a little lighter. So it's like in that larger space, this motion's going on. I'm just sort of. So, okay, now I'm going to do this way. It expands, comes back to itself, goes out, comes back. So there's almost like a connection. It goes out. The energy in my own system can follow that. It comes back to itself. Energy in my own system comes back. A couple of movements, in other words, okay, I'm moving. The key in my own system is flow. There's a synchronical between that and the larger spaces. The larger spaces. See, there's my motion. There's energy in my motion. And there's also movement in that larger space. So there's ideally a kind of a sinking up that starts to happen. Whatever, you're going to do post posture. You like. Maybe dialogue starting with you about eye movement. It's just so movement. Now, so a little deeper. My movement in here can sort of begin to sync up. Anything?
Well, a couple of things. One is I noticed just now that when I moved my arm, the movement began in my center, and I wasn't thinking, oh, I'm going to move my center. I was thinking, oh, I'm going to move my arm, and then my center moved. And that was kind of interesting. So it was a little more integrated. Yeah, that was one thing. The other thing is I'm really starting to sort of feel the aliveness of the space around me and my participation within that.
Yeah, okay, good things. Somebody gives you a call, but you forgot your cell phone. You have your cell phone, but it's on buzz, so you feel the buzz. Oh, pick it up. You receive the call. Let's just say that that field is giving you a call. Alignment. I'm too busy here to notice that the cell phone is buzzing. I don't answer it. Reasonably calm here, or in the field experience of being in my own center. Oh, phone call. Well, that's right, I have it on vibrate only. So it's almost like, that feel is always there. And to some degree, no sense of it, right? It's in constant communion. Now, okay, it's time to invite you, for the beyond. This is going on 24/7. We just tend to kind of create activities. Okay, I'll go to my yoga class. Oh, there's my yoga class. But it's going on 24/7. So, the fact all of a sudden, instead of being here, you're in a different location with yourself. Okay. And a lot of people don't get that potential sinking up. Let's move this back. So one of the terms I keep though, Aikido, but I keep a union, a harmony with keep. I keep. A lot of times those sensei doesn't say Aikido, he said I keep. So, just working, we used to do a lot of this. I mean, there wasn't a lot of classes when I first started. Both Robert Fraser Sensei and Robert Nago Sensei, they've sort of recently been back from Japan. In fact, started in '69. Since they passed that year, that something that I think they both really felt. So they felt like, this was an underdeveloped aspect of his legacy. That a lot of it was around the technique, which is good. We still do that. But the actual sense of what I keep was. So they would hold these monthly workshops. And then they would get together a Friday night class, which of us would travel to Mountain View. It's located on Restaurant Row on Castro Street, upstairs. Very much like the Martha Street location used to be, where you climb the stairs and then all of a sudden, and it had some, two separate mat areas right there. Eventually, they got priced out, so they moved. I don't know, different times Aikido Mountain was moved, but currently in its current iteration. So we can move it. So I keep there's energy in my own system. There's also the space of ki, and that goes into various dimensions. There's a space of ki kind of immediately around me. There's a space of ki bigger. Since it's space of ki was probably universal. I keep. Key, I've got a key, but my own key. Matching or blending or harmonizing with. Any thoughts on that?
I don't have any really additional thoughts on that other than, when I do this kind of awareness, I feel less of a distinction between me and the environment. So, like I'm just part of the environment, like the chair or the table or whatever. And I'm in space.
Yeah. Okay. I guess what it is a little bit is, if you think too big, in other words, you ask me about the whole universe, there's always a field of key around. And there's also your own, my own individual key. Right? I get a little too mental with it. And for example, right here, I'm just extending the arm out. As long as you can kind of a warm feel. And this is very individual because I've been doing this for a while and forget about this for decades and just do technique. The feeling of the key around me is like right this moment, what I would call a loving parent. In my relationship right now, as a child to that loving parent. The relationship between my own key and the key of that field is like that. Larger field nurtures and supports my key. Now, right here, I can go into, okay, I feel left to right, right to left to right. Right here, I'm feeling right between left to right, right to left. To be honest with you, it's a very loving feeling. It's a feeling of being loved. And oftentimes energy at a certain point has a to some degree that feels loving. So that's a little bit more of an advanced practice. But you see, Aikido is love. I'm supposed to love my partner. Your own relationship with yourself, relationship to feel the key, my own key. My own key feels a bit like a child to a parent, and it's a loving relationship. So what does it feel like? It feels very cool. It's kind of very nurturing. And that may be a little advanced. So anything that you're picking up like that?
No, it's hard to put into words. I do feel kind of like an island of calm In the last few minutes, Debbie has come home from an exercise class and is sharing the space, and she's moving a lot more. And so there's that force of sort of a counter force of movement in the space, but I still feel very much a part of the calmness.
Yeah. Well, the space itself, I mean, is many things. But feeling the calm of the space, you begin to feel the aliveness and the movement of the space. See, I'm in the middle of a movement here, life can start to that movement. The space moves. Space moves. And I have that relationship. I'm a child of that energy. Situation comes up. The parent comes in. Relationship, child to parent, parent to child. Now, if I'm over to cut up here, everything gets stuck. Too confusing. But that area right here, calm enough. Feel that relationship. That relationship. It's very, very free. Yeah, we can do it for a bit. Now I've got this. Now, I learn movements. I'm learning movements. Now, I'm learning movements, and my own key starts to kind of illuminate the movement. Staff feels lighter. But if I get too caught up in moving here, I start to be pulled out. So on a good day, use that expression. The movement flows. Present good day. I'm relaxed. I'm kind of in tune with my own energies. Things flow on a good day. On a not so good day, I'm doing it, and on a maybe not so good day, then I'm laboring, trying to figure it out. So you've got to be sort of on least at the beginnings of a good day to pick up things like flow, my own energy, right to left, left to right, and flow through my movements, What I'd like you to do is bring a little bit of energy work. You have and got a lot of preliminary work. So you begin to feel a little different with these moves. Okay. Any thing you might add how maybe the prep work we did today might have influenced your experience of doing this stuff?
Well, it did feel a little bit like changing gears and kind of taking it up a level. There was a certain amount of flow that I noticed from the beginning.
Okay.
So I think that I can attribute that to what we were doing earlier.
Okay.
That's what I got.
Okay. Well, sometimes just how you get into something. You come into something from a experience system. You come into something from a different level of experience. You come into something from a day. You're doing the same thing. But the level of experience that you come in on has an effect on what's going on here. Okay. So that's an important one. So since it was the story that a number of people have confirmed, people that were around them. He'd go off traveling. So people training at world headquarters in Tokyo, they kind of go, oh, well, Sensei's not here. Okay. So they noticed the energy was different. And then, Robert Nadeau, Robert Frazier, they're walking to the dojo and they go from a block away or blocks away, they go, he's back. Because they feel something. And then they go to, into the dojo and they say, oh yeah, Sensei's back. He got back last night. Wherever it was. Yeah. So there was something, his own energy, his own IQ relationship with his energy around his IQ space was very tangible. And see, all these are movements. If I start to kind of relax a bit, I go, let's flow. As I calm a little bit, the movements start to, like the movements are kind of already going on in that field. I can sync up my own movements with the movements of the field. Then I achieve what I call my level IQ. The universe is calling you on your cell phone. You pick it up and you have a conversation. Anyway, that's since they use the term IQ a lot, like Aikido, maybe the technique, but IQ, the relationship with Ki, Ki's relationship with you. Yeah, so anyway, that's about it. Anything else you might want to kind of add?
I mean, that's a good way of looking at it. Like when you're moving in a positive way, you're in harmony with the space around you.
Yeah. And to, everybody else, for example, has a space. I think the thing about the IQ, I mean, what we're seeing in this very, very dense and right now not going very well world is that you have you're Republican. You don't talk to Democrats. Democrat, you find Republicans a certain way. But key, we can have a conversation. And we can work for a greater good. Well, Sensei was talking about create the whole family. I'm hoping to be saying, well, by the time we wait for that to happen, the environment's probably sharp and a whole bunch of stuff. But if people come settle, feel themselves as key, realize that in some sense, there's a larger field they all come out of. But there are subfields that we have, other subfields can start to communicate with other subfields, and therefore our own energetic field, internal, can talk and dialogue with others, even if the label is diametrically opposed. That's the IQ, so to speak. Right? If we wait for Republicans and Democrats to get along, it's right now, then it doesn't. Anyway, one of the things we used to also do, and I've got a hookup here, so I hope that's coming through. So does it appear that I've got this on, this headpiece, is that working for you?
So the sound is a lot better than it was before you got it, but it
Okay.
is still kind of distorted. So I have some thoughts I can give you someday
Yes.
about technology.
But it's a little better.
It is, I can understand what you're saying. So that's a big improvement.
It's an improvement. Okay, all right. So we'll try some sound work. Sometimes so one of the things we used to do was a lot of sound. That was very basic. Went to Japan with the formal chants ever since I did it and everything. All those initial days and Mountain View for those weekend workshops once a month. Okay. Let's just take a sound and let's just start up here. I'm making the sound. It's starting sound. You can join in or mute. Now, for example, you feel my own system opening. So you're using your hands, but you also use sound. And for example, we have that sense of the energy, your own energy field. My energy field is kind of lighting up. It was there, it was alive, but all of a sudden the sound, I start to add the sound, I open enough past my normal. No, it's just I'm stuck here. Our system feels kind of alive, full, but it's sort of in better communication. In other words, I have a little cheap phone. Now I've got a much better one. Or watching TV, and the streaming plan is very limited and very primitive. I decided to spend a little bit more, and I did a better plan. Access some more channels. So we used to do a lot of sound work. What? Basic work with sound. Okay. I don't know if you want to unmute. Any observations on that?
Yeah, I feel like the space is fuller somehow.
Yeah, yeah. So since he did a lot of work with sound, yeah, that's been kind of edited out of a lot of modern Aikido. Like the only thing you get is there you go, there you go. In some places, right? That's sound. It's almost like, your body, you have different levels of our own body, physical body. Have an energy body. Or vibes a certain way. That's the kind of physical body. And then there's what may be called, and I'm not sure what this is, a vibrational body, which is kind of very close to the energy body. It's almost like you got a pretty high level phone. And all of a sudden you get an app, you go, oh, I didn't wish I'd had this before. Same phone. Maybe you have to add a bit of plan, all of a sudden you get another app. So how does your energy body, so to speak, feel after the chanting, the vibrational aspect? You got a new app. What do you find about that?
I just feel more awake.
Yeah, literally. Sleepy, sleepy, sleepy. Yeah, okay. Wait. Okay. It's another dimension. More alertness, more awake. What does the Buddha mean? Awakening. So there's various levels of awakening. There's fusion of the mind. There's body. Now, body at some point awakens, and there's Robert. Robert awakens. Margot awakens, and there's Robert. See, those are all awakenings. Now the question is, who awakens? So I have an energy body. Okay, start to feel energy. I can feel my own. Oh, wow, I feel awake. I was always awake. That's just a different level of awake. Can you describe the feeling of being that much more awake?
I'm not sure how else to describe it other than, alertness and energy level.
No, there was a documentary on O-Sensei. And so it was kind of giving a little bit of profile background of him about this very, very spiritual guy. And so the commentator said something to the effect of, and you can feel what the frost on the ground is feeling. See, everything in the room here vibrates. We've got a bunch of storage boxes, which we got to unload because we're in the process of redecorating. That's why this is more of a mess than before. It vibrates, doesn't it? Now, we use the whole term, for example, parent, child. Okay, I think the parent loves me. I love this kind of love. But the question is, who is your parent? And I read an article recently, when Stephen Curry's mom talked to him about accountability, responsibility. It moved him so much as the kid was shook. So, there's an area where, okay, my parents, really good parents, good people. My more celestial parents and you. Wow. So you're still a child. And the energy field around you is like, but now, without getting into it too much, because I have good parents. We're talking about your energetic parents, your Izanagi to Izanagi. Good bond with your mom, that would sort of be more like Stephen Curry. So there's kind of like, if we catch that field and realize the specialness of that field, the relationship of that field starts to kind of change a bit. Like the chanting gives me a sense that things are kind of glowing. The parent has sort of set up the nursery to be special. And also, the child within the nursery is responding back. Like, for example, I'm putting a hand up. And I'm still like an offering gesture as opposed to okay. There's a beautiful something. But it's almost like the parent is doing the same thing with the child. The parent is offering very, very special love to the child, and the child is offering that. Since they talked about what he called the not echo. Of you. I'm waiting for love. Okay, no. All of a sudden, that field, the parent, of the vibration offers that love, and I offer it. So people kind of do this. It's like, okay, Aikido's about love. Okay. So that feel is encouraging me to open. One thing that Sonia Curry told her son, Stephen, only you get to write your history. All the people say, oh, this and that, and mom says, only you. But she extended this love to him. And he extended it back. And great things happen. Brian, pretty ordinary, but all of a sudden, there's some almost like the field around me. It's like a very positive, empowering parent. parent extends love, the child is encouraged to extend it back. Like, for example, this is a movement. The parent extends love, the sort of very loving feeling for the child. The child extends it back. I'm a little child. Oh, Moses, I'm capable of great things. Okay. Feel that feeling like that. We're all children. Is what psychologists call the inner child. Okay. Any observations on that? That's actually pretty good when you start to add the sound. Why did those things say do sounds? There's a lot of chanting, a lot of praying, a lot of work with sound. Anything you feel like adding? You don't have to, by the way.
Well, as a singer, I know that, the body vibrates with the sound vibrates in you. And, sound is nothing more than pressure waves in time, like hundreds of times a second. And so there's a vibration. It's a literal, not just a metaphor, it's a literal vibration. And that, is felt in the body when you generate sound, right? So like when you play trumpet, you're using your breath, but it's the trumpet that's vibrating. And when you sing, it's you who are the musical instrument. And so when you're chanting or using sound work, it's the same phenomenon. It's just, aimed at a different goal, right? So the one goal is aesthetic pleasing, and the other goal is to try and be part of a harmony with the universe. And I'd say that goal is also important to aesthetic singing, right? The more in harmony you are with your environment, the more pleasing the sound will be to a third-party listener as a side effect of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my music teacher, Ali Akbar Khan, of blessed memory, was really very focused on the fact that music should be for God. And if the audience appreciates it, that's a side effect.
Okay. Now let's just go back to the beginning exercise. I'm kind of getting a little bit right here. The center circle construct. The child is the center. The loving parent is the circle. And the circle empowers the center. The center empowers back to the circle. Is that dialogue? Physically, all of a sudden, kind of my lower belly kind of lights up. Notice my head from all these tiny, stupid thoughts. Kind of clears. So center the circle the center. Then the word empowerment be given away, because really what it is the love that the circle extends to the center. And the center reflects that love back, the circle. And the feeling, it's such a weird world out there, but in this moment, all that's good. Anyway, anything you can add about that? Because we went full circle, so to speak, back to the original practice after a couple of
Yeah. I noticed immediately that there was a lot more energy than 5 minutes ago, and my hands wanted to be further apart.
Yeah,
the set point was where the external pressure on the outside of my hands and the internal pressure on the inside was much farther apart, like I was holding a much larger ball.
Yeah, apparently when Osensei walked into the room, he felt. I mean, it was tangible. That's why, Nido Sensei, Baba Fridge Sensei, they put a lot of work in my first couple of years on something that kind of felt that Sensei embodied. That wasn't really being emphasized in Aikido. That's why Sensei used the term Aikido. He was talking about that dialogue between the larger and also your personal. The personal gets more refined or open. See, as a child feels the love of the parent, it can, to use a Jungian term, individuate. And the child reaches back out to the parent. And that ongoing dialogue is a loving dialogue, isn't it? But you feel the tremendous power is there as you open. Oh, what's this? Okay. I mean, I'm sure it's a difference, between Stephen Curry dribbling a basketball and playing basketball, and all of a sudden, but he was getting this love from his parents. And so all of a sudden, look at him now. The world of basketball. Sensei. The harmony of the universe. That ongoing dialogue. Anything before we go?
Nothing additional at this time. Thank you, Sensei.
Yeah, that was a pretty good session today. So if I go back over how I felt for the session, I kind of felt okay. It was okay. But this is kind of like much more than okay. It's like you kind of want to bask in it. See, the world is funny that way because we hold on to stuff. Right? I mean, I kind of look at my own profile and how much energy do I give Donald Trump? Okay. And, you know, just a player that the Warriors used to have, Kevin Durant, once portrayed it. And we don't know what's going on, but now everybody's talking about Durant going to come back to the Warriors. No, the Warriors are world champions. And don't because you're in this dialogue. Forget that. Yeah. See, there's an area of moth the flame. Of course, when somebody has this, there's a pull, a gravity to it. I mean, I was going to say, is art still being practiced? So he died the year I started. So well over 50 years. Art's still being practiced. He had this sort of gravity. And you could call that gravity that attraction goes to that. It's a form of that love. Today we would just say child to parent. You could even work child to parents. He's a non, Susan, yin yang, fire the water. But it's going to come down to that at some point. Okay. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. This is a good one.
Thank you, Sensei. It's a great class.
Yeah, you take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, actually, let me make sure I turn off the recording. Recording stopped.